Now, for some insights into the magnitude of the violence facing communities in Cape Town, I'm joined by Yaseen Johaar from the Hanover Park Community Policing Forum. Yaseen, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for your time. Now, from your perspective as a CPF member, what do you believe are some of the main factors that are contributing to the recent increase in mass shootings in South Africa, and particularly in the Western Cape?
Thank you for the opportunity, and good day to all those listeners and viewers tuned in today. I would say the main issue around mass shooting and shooting in general on the Cape Flats, I think we shouldn't be fooling ourselves. Yes, we're having a flare-up in shootings all over the Cape. We're seeing there's a flare-up in specific mass shooting. But we should also remember that those are only the results of poor governance within our communities. We must remember, yes, we can blame gang violence, but we need to dwell deeper. We need to look at the root cause of crimes and go into the communities of these mass shootings, of these daily shootings, like communities like ourselves, like Hanover Park and the rest on the Cape Flats. You will find major unemployment levels. You will find major teenage and school dropouts in those communities. You will find a high level of teenage dropouts, and those are the elements that is that is pushing this gang violence within and high crime levels within our struggling communities. So yeah, I think that the approach of government and the approach of the public servants, I think we're not hitting at the core points. And once we address those issues, we will then see that crime on a mass level will decrease. Currently, the technologies and the shot spotters and the drones and that, if it was working, then we would have already seen a major decrease in crime on the Cape Flats.
So maybe just to paint a clearer picture, Yaseen, I mean, you're speaking of poor governance as well as economic challenges that many people are faced with in terms of bread and butter issues, and that's why they commit some of these crimes. In instances where people are shot, mass shootings where 7, 8 people are shot, just take us through the correlation between that being a bread and butter issue. What are these fights over? What are these gangs fighting over? Is it territory? Are they selling particular products that they're trying to find spaces for? Just paint the picture clearer for us, please.
So yes, we know it's gang violence. We know there's a high level of drug smuggling, drug addiction is rife. But when I'm speaking of bread and butter issues, we should also remember that no mother raises a child to become a gangster. No gangster wants their child to also become a gangster. The circumstances played in our communities, if you should put it in any other upper class and influential community like your Bishop Lavis, I mean like your Bishop's Courts, like your Camps Bay, and you give them the same circumstances in communities like Hanover Park, Manenberg, Bishop Lavis and Atlantis, you will find that those Camps Bay, Constantia, you give them also high levels of unemployment, drug addiction, you will see that the same flare-ups in our communities around gang violence will happen in such communities as well.
I mean, Hanover Park is certainly one community that has needed intervention and assistance for quite some time, especially when it comes to gang violence. Speak to us about how some of these mass shootings affect communities, both in terms of not just the safety and the psychological impacts on residents, but also with service delivery.
You know, we're heading now into the matric final exams. And for matriculants in our communities to write under these conditions is absolutely pathetic. You know, we speak about human rights and we're speaking about the right to education. But how is this a right to education when our matriculants need to cross wars, battles? We're finding that the levels of the shootings and the murders within or on the Cape Flats, it can be equivalent to the mass wars, to big wars across the world. So certainly something is not, connecting correctly. And again, I'll fall back on we need to address the root causes of crime. Billions and millions is being spent on technologies that is not working. And so when we find ourselves on the grounds in the communities, you live in a state of fear. You are imprisoned in your own homes because you can't walk outside. Your kids want to play, but we can't allow them to play because the environment is not, the environment is unsafe. So these are the conditions that we find ourselves. And then to those victims of these crimes, whether they were gangsters or not gangsters, the pain and the suffering and the trauma within those circumstances, it's unbearable. We try to address, and we try to give service and provide service to try to make it a bit easier on those being affected, but it's just trauma upon trauma. And then you're dealing with the court system, and then that is a battle on its own. So I believe if we're going to look at decreasing crime. We hearing government speaking about crime will be halved in the next 10 years, but then after 10 years we see nothing happens from that. What we are saying is that take those millions and those billions that you are investing on technology that's not even owned by us. Take those billions and invest it into the schools, invest it into our youth, invest it into the unemployment rate, and decrease it. Surely that will, on the long run, see us, decrease the crime in the communities. And also, just to latch on to that, we're also seeing that it looks like the circumstances around the crime are now it's organized, but also we're seeing that it's highly profitable. There need to be crime in order for certain stakeholders to then benefit from.
Of course. What role do you think, Yaseen, especially as a CPF member, do you think community policing plays in not just preventing mass shootings, but also just addressing the underlying issues that lead to such violence?
So community policing should be at the forefront. We're saying it is, but I think we should practice it. When it comes to major decision making around technologies, around the fourth industrial revolution, around approaches to crime, community needs to be in the forefront of those decision making. We can't have someone that has, and with all due respect, they have studied, good and well in their careers and in the fields, but we can't take those individuals in suits and ties, that has absolutely none real life experience of what it is to be in this war and in this genocidal condition, to then get their perspective and based according to their what they think is best. Yes, they've studied well, but again, nothing beats real life experience. And you can have whatever degree you have, but surely the best input will then come from those that's living on the grounds. So I would say is that bring the community closer to the table, hear the plight, and hear what is the need, and base it on that. It seems as if we are screaming because they're saying the community is not coming to the fore. The community wants change, but we need to be heard as well.
Right.
Decisions can't be made around millions and billions of technology, and then still we're seeing it's not working. Our people, is going hungry to bed. Our people has never eaten for 3 or 4 days in a community. That in its own scientifically make them already angry. I think by now, as community, we should stop taking the blame to say that we are covering for gangsters, to say that we are part of the problem. The conditions is pushing us to then be, the situation where we are at currently. If you're not going to improve our schooling, our conditions, our living conditions, crime will always be
Will
the final
certainly be
result.
at the center of it. Yaseen, I don't have much time, and I really need you to answer this as quickly as possible, just in regards to the prevalence of illegal firearms, and just based on your own knowledge, where do you believe most of these illegal firearms are coming from? Are there specific areas or networks that are particularly concerning?
At this point in time, I cannot pinpoint to say exactly where where these guns are coming from, and surely it's coming from somewhere, but I cannot pinpoint exactly to say that it's coming from a specific group, or it's coming from a specific target. What I do know is that, again, crime is the modus to make for profitability. And when guns is the tool needed to be used, surely you will make a way and a means in order to get that tool, in order to commit the crime, in order to profit from circumstances.
Right. All right, Yaseen, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this afternoon. A very concerning issue, not just in the Western Cape, but across the country, where we're seeing the spate of these mass shootings shoot up. That's Yaseen Johaar from the Hanover Park, Community Policing Forum. Thank you so much for your time. When we return, we look at the concerns around the safety of food being consumed by South Africans in the wake of multiple incidents where children have ingested contaminated food.